welcome to Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild. Today, I want to talk about something that just came out last month, and I really haven't seen a lot of reporting about it, so I kind of want to bring it to the forefront, and we'll probably get more as we go along. But it seems that the EPA are about to put in new rules that allow for the states to regulate themselves, so to speak, when it comes to wastewater disposal. There's a few states, Oklahoma included, that are looking into doing self-regulatory through their own departments of environmental quality. And this, what they're looking to do next year is actually, instead of pumping wastewater into the ground like they do now through injection wells, they're wanting to clean that water up and dump it right back into Oklahoma streams and rivers. And that's what today's show is all about. Here's what's been going on in the oil field at the time. Between 2010 and 2014, Oklahoma had a rash of earthquakes, and it was caused by disposal water into the formations deep below ground. Now, what was happening was they were pumping the water about 6,000 feet into the formations there, and it was causing earthquakes. Well, now, what they're doing, they're not going as deep. They're going about 2,000 to 3,000 foot deep. And this is causing some problems, one being that the aquifers there are filling up too fast for the volume of water they're putting in. This, in comparison, Lake Hefner holds about 100 million gallons of water. So each day we're producing about 10 of those and pumping that into Oklahoma's formations every day. After a while they get full and they get pressurized, and then the geologists get concerned and they trying to find new ways to do with disposal water. Now we got to applaud them on some things. This created a new industry. They're really trying here to clean up the water, with centrifuges or whatever else they can do, distilling factors or however, to get the brine and the salts out. But there's a couple of issues with this. One major being, we don't know everything that's in this brine that they're getting out of the ground. A lot of the chemicals are still trade secrets, so we don't know. And the biggest concern with environmentalists is that since we don't know and we're going to put this into the waterways of Oklahoma, well, there's no getting that back once we dump it in the water. So it's just there, and we're like, oops. So, we got to be really sure about this from my perspective, because Oklahoma's water, this state has really done a good job when it comes to making sure that we have the water for future generations that other states haven't seemed to do. I don't know if you noticed a few years ago, but the state of Texas tried to sue us for our water. You got to give us your water because we're running out. And no, we did a good job with our business. Too bad they didn't do with theirs, and it really goes to show this is a valuable resource, and it's going to become more valuable as we go along through. Another thing that happened last month that I don't know a lot of people are aware of, I really didn't see a whole lot of media on this. As a matter of fact, when I found this, I found it on the state government's website, and that's where I found it doing the research for this show. And it's a letter by the governor, and I want to put it up here on the screen, and you guys can follow along with me. This is titled Serious Environmental Public Health and Safety Emergency, and it's dated November 22nd, 2019. This is a month ago, and he says it's concerning serious environmental emergency, and this is due to a saltwater purge in the field in a section in Blaine County, Oklahoma. And this is west of Oklahoma City, and the subject is saltwater purge. This is because what happens is they're not going deep enough. So, since they're not going deep enough anymore to not cause earthquakes, well, it's just bubbling back up. And all that does, well, it kills the farmland. You can't farm it. You can't hardly do anything with it for a while. As a matter of fact, some farmers were saying that it's harder to clean up than oil spills when it happens. So it just ruins the land. The salt and the brine, you can't grow anything there. You can't graze cattle on it. You can't do anything with it. So here we are, the oil industry, doing this and just causing blight up on our state, and for what? For money. That's what it's all about. This goes into something else I want to talk about. Now, all this recycling the water has created a new industry, and within that industry is one that I kind of favor. there's a company by the name of XRI, and what they do is they recycle the water, they clean it out, and what they do with it, instead of putting it back into streams and rivers, they resell it back to the oil industry to reuse again as fracking fluid, which I think is a real good way to recycle it. Now we're not using a lot of extra water from aquifers or streams to use for fracking, and we're reusing that same water. So it's kind of a double whammy as far as helping in that respects, and that provides jobs, and it's good for the environment that way. As far as just pumping it straight into rivers and streams, I don't know that we're at that level yet. Even the two groups that do purport that, I mean, they support this. They think we should be pumping it back into rivers and streams at some point in time, but even they say more needs to be done. There needs to be more research into it, there needs to be more science into it, and you've got the two regulatory gaps that they're going to have to address. One regulatory gap is there is no rules in place to transfer this water outside of the oil industry. So there isn't really a way to get it back into rivers and streams or anywhere else. There's just no mechanism for that at the time, and there need to be legislation to do that. The second problem they have is in order to release it back into rivers and streams, they would have to, per the Clean Air and Water Act, get a permit to do that. Now, in order to do that permit, they have to disclose everything that was in that wastewater. And there's another rule that says they can't do that because certain chemicals that are in it are trade secrets. So there's a couple of regulatory gap issues that they'll have to address before they get to that, I think, and they're going to have to do some more scientific testing. But leave it to Oklahoma to want to do this next year, and I guarantee you right now there are exploration companies waiting to sign up for these permits so that they can dump this back. Now I want to give you guys an idea about how much water we're talking about that the oil industry produces here. As far as wastewater goes, Texas alone produces about 350 billion gallons a year. That's about 1 billion gallons a day, and if you heard me talking earlier, Lake Hefner is about 100 million gallons. That's roughly 10 Lake Hefners a day that the state of Texas has as wastewater production from the oil field. They got to do something with that. That's a lot of water. You need to treat that every day. We don't even have the infrastructure in place here for Oklahoma City's drinking water that's that huge. I mean, as a matter of fact, we have Hefner as one of our drinking lakes. We got a few of them around. That's more than the drinking water that we have available for the city. That's a lot of water. So the other problem you have with cleaning the water is the infrastructure. There's a lot of water that needs to be cleaned, and in order to do that you have to have the infrastructure in place, and this is just a new industry. It's something that just started, and it came out of the 2010 and 2014 earthquakes, and that's probably a good thing. I mean, we're really trying to do something here, but we really need to do a lot more before we dump this water right back into Oklahoma streams and rivers. I hope you've enjoyed our show today. This is Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild.